This is the video for you if you're struggling with your chipping. A good friend of ours, Trotty Golf, came for a chipping lesson. Look, he got the yips, he got no confidence. He was at the point where he said, look, I might not play anymore. It was actually really simple. We gave him 3 simple tips to help him with his setup and with his swing. And by the end of the lesson, he actually said, I feel like crying. And the best part is...
Because it was good.
because it was good. And the best part is, a lot of these things that he was doing, you can do as well to help you with your chipping. So Andy, I think, look, the first thing with Trotty, if you just take your setup and we'll just go through this together. He was setting up to the golf ball like a lot of people do, in that he was setting up to it like a full shot, like an iron or even a driver in Trotty's case. And you can see these shoulders very much tilted up in the air. His head was back. It's as though he's trying to hit a high bomb draw driver, not play a chip shot. Andy, what problems does that actually cause by doing that?
Well, as soon as we tilt this way, it really places the low point behind the golf ball. And when we say the low point is where the club is at the lowest point of the arc. And if you think about when it comes to short game, we want it somewhat close to the golf ball. If we're too much tilted this way, it is easy to leave that club and dig it into the ground way behind the golf ball and hit that horrible duff. The second thing is what it can cause is, certainly for Trotty and better players, when they do this, they'll tend to sort of want to lean the shaft forward in order to really get to the golf ball. So they'll tilt back, lean the shaft forward. They can hit good shots, but they have to be so precise. And very rarely does that consistently work. And this is why he was struggling, starting with his first thing just in the setup.
Yeah, and look, the only way he could play a good shot was by hitting golf ball first. And we always say, that's fine, but we always want you to have the option to hit the ground and ball or the ground before the golf ball when you're playing your chip shots, because that's a good skill as well.
And when you have to lean that shaft forward, it takes all the bounce off the club.
Yeah.
So it exposes the leading edge. So if he did hit the ground, it would easily create that horrible digging action, which is where those nerves and the anxiousness comes from. I know you've experienced that as well.
The yips for me comes from being scared to hit the ground because of what the club is going to do when it hits the ground. If that club hits the ground, it's leading edge first, it's going to slow down real quick. That's when your playing partners say, oh, you decelerated. Well, you dug the club in the ground, no wonder you decelerated. So Andy, what did we actually go through? What was the tip that we gave for the setup?
First one in setup was really just to get the head and the shoulders more neutral really, as opposed to very tilted. So great thing that you can do here, and this is what we do with the Trotty, is place your right hand on the club like this, club pointing somewhere towards the midline of the body, place the left hand on the leg, and we're just going to slide it down a little bit here like this. This is the opposite to what we normally do with a driver.
Yeah,
so this is getting this way, so the shoulder's a little more level, and then we place the hands on. Now the right shoulder will still probably be a fraction lower, but they're not excessively like this. And I'm feeling now that I've got a little bit more weight on this lead leg, and that now helps create the low point a little bit more really around the golf ball or even slightly past the golf ball. And it helps create that better strike, exactly what we would need to consistently use the club. What I like about this as well, it places the shaft in a more neutral position. Whenever we tilt this way, look what happens to the shaft. We do this. If we can get the shoulders more neutral like this, it actually creates a more neutral shaft, which we know then as well helps us use the bounce so the club can actually interact with the turf in a much smoother way. That is gliding across the surface rather than digging in.
Just hit another one, Andy. I'm just going to do one of the things, a bit of a pro tip for you here on what you can do in the setup. If you're really struggling to get this and feel comfortable, let this left arm bend a little bit. Let it bend a bit. The more you bend it, again, it helps to lower that shoulder. And again, it's fine to have both of your arms bent when you're chipping. Just hit one like that, Andy. And the thing for Trotty as well that you'd have to work at as well is he always had this tendency to want to get this head back like this, so his right ear would get close to his right shoulder. I'd always say, get that ear away from the shoulder. Try and get the left ear closer to the left shoulder. All right, let's get into the second tip. But before we do that, actually, make sure you hang around for the third tip, because this is the one that's most relative to you, I believe. Okay, Andy, the uppercut. What are we talking about?
So Trotty's then still had a tendency to, even from a good setup, wanting to sort of drop back this way and fall back, which again, we know what happens, easy to hit the ground from there. So the uppercut was more of a feeling to actually continue to move this way and up through the shot. Now, this movement, straight in the chin with Piers there, this movement is so beneficial. How often do we hear, Piers, as well? We need to stay down through the shot. We need to stay down or hit down.
Do not do that.
This causes more poor shots than good. So the feeling with Trotty on the way through, he was having this uppercut So you can see I'm standing up through the shot here, nice and tall, feeling almost as if I'm doing this through the shot. So let me hit a shot here and just hold the finish, and you'll see how this looks. So again, shoulders relatively level, feeling uppercut. And I'm just making sure I'm holding my finish, feeling really, really tall. It sounds strange to want to stand up through the shot, but what it allowed Trotty to do, when we stand up, it allows us to release the club better. When we stay down, we often get this driving force like this. So this really helped Trotty create a little bit more loft.
Yeah.
The ball was coming off the face a little bit softer because of that, and that's going to give you a little bit more control.
And then the feeling on the way through is?
Uppercut.
Uppercut. You only hit it to there. That's not bad.
Joke.
Right, do me a favour. Just on this as well, some of the best short game players, we've had a privilege of spending time with them. Someone like John Rahm, he stands up probably 2 to 3 inches when he's hitting these shots, so it's crucial for you. So what happens is, so go again, Andy, for me, so swing back for me. Now, as Andy's swinging down, by doing the uppercut, if he were to hold on to the shaft angle and drive the handle forward like Trotty does, and then stand up, guess what? He'd miss the ball by miles. So what he has to do, when he's standing up now and doing the uppercut, he's allowing the club now, he has to let the club head release properly, which allows him to brush the ground, gives him a little bit more loft on the shots, and uses the bounce as Andy was just pointing to there.
So what you can do is just practice hitting some shots where you just feel that you're finishing really upright on the way through, all the weight's onto this front leg, which was, again, getting Trotty moving forward. Just hold the finish when you do the shot. So again here, allowing the club to release, stand up nice and tall, great interaction with the ground. Look at all these shots as well, Piers.
They're really good, actually. I'm
not really thinking too much here, but they're all pretty good.
All right, before we get into the third tip, look, if you are enjoying this and it is helpful for your game, I'm sure it will be, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you want to see our absolute best content, then make sure you download the Meandmygolf app. Okay, so Andy, the thing now for Trotty was, and this is so common.
The most important
This is so
thing.
important.
The most important thing.
Can't stress this. I've done this a lot with my short game. We do this with a lot of golfers as well with their short game. Especially with Trotty, obviously wanting to do this and drive the handle. This would make the ball come off very fast when you hit the ball first. He was now leaving the golf ball short a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go from a position where you're doing this a lot and now you're doing the good movements, you're probably going to leave the golf ball short. Why are they doing that?
Because most golfers, when it comes to short game, have too short a backswing. And one of the reasons this is because that everybody tells golfers that you need to accelerate on your chips. When they duff a shot, oh, it's like you decelerated. You didn't decelerate. What happened is the club hit the earth, which stopped the club. And I had a lesson the other day, and it's exactly the same thing. Short, acceleration. The problem is with this, think about this, we want finesse, touch, control. We do not get that type of movement or that type of touch from this aggressive movement. So the key thing that you guys can do, and that we did with Trotty, was let gravity do a bit of the work. So we're going to swing back longer, and the length of the swing is going to produce the distance, not the acceleration that's needed. So Trotty's backswing was a little too short, and therefore he just wasn't getting the distance. But what most people do, they would go, I'm going to hit it harder. No, we're going to swing longer, and I'm letting gravity do the work here. So notice when I hit this shot, I'm not going to put any force into this. I'm going to use the body. I'm letting gravity just drop the club. My body's still working on the way through, but it's supporting the club. It's not driving the club, which is a big difference. When we get somebody and see somebody doing this, that's a drive. What we want to see is almost we get here, maybe a little shorter, we get here, and we just let it drop, and then the body supports it rather than drop. It's a big difference.
And the thing is, don't forget, you're not decelerating by letting the club drop. As the club is dropping, the club head is accelerating through gravity, but you're not putting undue force on the handle and then driving that club into the ground.
When we spoke to Ricky Fowler, he said that he feels that everything stops at the golf ball, where what we see with the majority of golfers who struggle with their chipping, they're powering past the ball. We don't want that. It's almost the opposite. We're allowing things to almost slow down, and you can see that softness when I'm doing that. There's no force, there's no driving component to it. Gravity is doing the work.
And look at the ground. You can walk away from here now and no one would know that you've been chipping here. I think that is the sign of a really good chipper. So look, if you do those 3 things in your chipping, we guarantee you it will make you better. Now, if you enjoyed this video, you're going to absolutely love this video. Check that one out. And also, if you want to see our best content, go to meandmygolf.com or simply download the Meandmygolf app.